Heaps! It's Adele from Inkie Quill, and today we are making some tags using the November Printables. So I thought my idea for these tags is that they could be used for gift tags for the holiday season, or you could use them as tags in your scrapbooking as well. So I've pulled a couple of products, and I thought I'd show you what I've pulled before we get started, and I think I might speed up the process and do a voiceover over the top. So I've got the printables, I've cut up the collage sheet, I've also got the background papers for November, and then also those circle ones that I showed you that I printed just on this circle sticker paper. So I'm also going to use those. I might even use the Project Life, like the journaling cards. I don't know if I will, but they're there in case I want them. I've pulled some Dilutions paints that I thought were in the same colour scheme. So it is Postbox Red, Rose Quartz, After Midnight, Bubblegum Pink, and Periwinkle Blue, which would be my 5 favourite colours probably, as well as the turquoise one. Yeah, those 5 in turquoise. I've got some Tombow brush markers in case I feel like using them. A couple of mermaid markers. I'm not a huge fan of these, but I bought into the hype as we do as crafters and creative people. So I might use them. We'll see. We'll see how adventurous I feel. I've got some tags. And I have a few more that I might use too. These ones I die cut using a very old die and some basil marshmallow cardstock. You could just trace around a tag that you've already got, or just cut one freehand. And then I've got some shipping tags. I think I got these from Studio Calico years ago, and they don't make them anymore, and it frustrates me, these mini little white ones. I've got some punches off to the side. Some foam tape, normal tape, stapler, just the usual. I might use some tissue paper, and I also have a bit of trim. This came in a recent kit that I got, and I don't know, I get a bit baffled with ribbon and trim, so I'm going to try and use this because it just matches the colour perfectly. So we'll try and incorporate this. So let's get started.
Alrighty, time to get messy with the inky and the painty and the watercolours. I realised at the start of this video when I'm just talking to camera is quite echoey, and I'm sorry about that. This is the first time I've filmed a speaking video in my new craft room, so I will work on using my microphone for the next one. Sorry, but I'm starting this off. This, remember, is some basil marshmallow cardstock, so it's going to take on this watercolour really, really well, and it's not going to soak it in as much as normal cardstock would, or even like printer paper or something like that. I tried to use the mermaid markers, and in the end I like how they looked, but I did take a lot of that colour out. The pink was really fluoro. It was very, very bright, and so I just had to tame it back a little bit. I also sprayed water on first to help that out. I then gave up on the mermaid markers because they were frustrating me a little bit, and I decided to go to my trusty old Dilutions. I've pulled out my junk journal, and I'm just slopping the extra paint on an empty page just to give me a background for next time, because I didn't realise how much paint I had put on my paintbrush. Whenever I use these Dilutions paints, I always make sure that most of the time, I only use the paint from the lid, because otherwise it's very deceiving how much paint you actually get onto your paintbrush and how much paint you actually need. I still make that mistake, and I've been using these paints for years. So yes, my tip is to use the lid. I'm also using the Jane Davenport watercolours, which I've been obsessed with lately because they're small and portable, and I can store them really easily near my desk. Hot tip though, when you're doing splattering, move the things around you that you don't want splatters on, because I ended up getting splatters on some of my printables, but I made it work. You'll see in a little bit how I made that work. So then I'm going through and I really wanted to stick to the colours that the printables actually were, just to make it easier for everything to coordinate. You could easily jump out of this colour palette and do a yellow background or a green background. I just find it harder to coordinate like that, so I was just sticking to the colours that worked. I'm really excited to actually do this junk journal page. It's quite simple, but I'm really excited to maybe do like a scripty quote on that right hand page, but that's for another video, that's for another time. So next up, I'm reaching for the pink, and I finally got a new pot of bubblegum pink. My bubblegum pink, I have been stubbornly holding on to. You can see how nice and flowy this pot is. My previous one is extremely cluggy and it needs to go. I think I'm going to try and maybe paint an entire journal page using the old pot of pink to see if I can use it, to see if it's salvageable, but it doesn't go through stencils very well anymore. I'm also not washing my paintbrush because I have blue, very, very blue paint water, and I didn't want to taint the lovely pinkness of these colours. So now these shipping tags, I don't like them. I bought them from, I think it might have been Officeworks, and they're low quality shipping tags. They are what they are, they're shipping tags. Whereas these ones with the brown little reinforcer are Studio Calico ones, which are meant for crafting. So the kind of beigey coloured tags didn't take, I'm glad I didn't do any watercolour on them, because they, even just with paint, it started to kind of seep into the cardstock a little bit. And yeah, that's why I use stickers on this card. You can't really tell on camera, but it was starting to, there was a few little patchy bits that I wasn't a fan of. I'm using my glue stick here. I just used a Bostik glue stick that I got from Officeworks, and I don't trust this sticker paper. It's Avery brand, and I've had it peel up before when I've put it over the top of mixed media. I think there is one where I just stick it straight onto the tag and not on top of a big acrylic-y painty patch. But if you are using sticker paper, just be careful, because sometimes they're not as sticky as they claim to be. I discovered a little stash of permanent markers, I think they were. I must have, when I finished teaching, I think I just emptied out my top drawer, which was a cross between a junk drawer and a stationery hoarder's paradise. And I think I had just dumped all of my pens and highlighters and textures all in one container and completely ignored it until now. So I've got this Sharpie, thin Sharpie permanent texter that I'm using for a lot of this, mainly because the photo paper was really glossy, and I didn't think my Pilot G2 pen would smudge, and so would the Feud Ball one. So it was within arm's reach, and I thought permanent might be better. Time for some Heidi Shine. Shake, 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 shake. Shake your Heidi Shine. Shake your Heidi Shine. Going through my little container of tricks here, and I've been doing quite a few layouts lately with punched out stars. So I seem to have a stash of stars. I had that layout that went up on YouTube, was that last week? The week that just passed, I think. And it had a ton of stars on it. So I'm using some of the leftover ones from there. And of course, fighting with this glue is almost done. I promise, guys. I promise it won't stay around for too much longer. I do, halfway through this video, get too frustrated with it and use my new full one. But for now, you'll see me have a few glue accidents. I'm very stubborn when it comes to getting the end of a product. Are you guys like that? I'm same with like toothpaste. I will squeeze every last drop out of that toothpaste tube before I get rid of it. I want my money's worth. So that card was so quick and easy to do. This one is the quickest out of all of them. I am just using that permanent texter to doodle some very, very messy stars. And then I'm going to I'm going to scripty font For You on this little red banner. And the reason why I didn't put someone's name is because I'm not quite sure whose present it's going to be. You could leave it blank and put someone's name on it. Of course, you could use alphabet stickers if you're not comfortable with writing. You could also stick one of the tiny word phrases on this banner. It's completely up to you. But I just thought For You was a nice generic thing that I could put there and tie it to anyone's present, and then on the back probably write to and from. So that's my intention with these tags, is to do the toing and the fromming on the back of them. However, you will hear in the last clip of this video, when I show all of the tags in real time, I have fallen a little bit in love with them. And I don't know if I want to give them all away on Christmas presents. Have you ever done that? Have you ever made something for someone, and even just a card, and just thought, do I really have to share this, or can I keep it selfishly for myself? I really love some of the tags, and so I think I'm going to kind of do a half-half. I will attach half of them to gifts at Christmas time, and then I might keep the other half and put them in my scrapbooking projects. We'll see how we go. You'll have to keep your eyes peeled. So next up, I grabbed one of those background papers from the 7 that I released this month, and I'm just punching some hearts. I wanted to have a mix between some really girly, frilly pink, pretty kind of tags, and then some that were a little more red. We do have a lot more boys that we buy presents for with Aaron's brothers and dads and stepdads and things, and so I probably will keep some more of these pinky toned ones for my scrapbooking. I was slightly obsessed, as always. When am I never obsessed, actually, with black and white spot tissue paper? I had a lovely subscriber sent me some, and I'm almost through it, so I need to go on the hunt. I'm sure maybe eBay or something might have some more that I can buy, because I just think it's such a nice neutral. Some people might not see a polka dot as a neutral, but I think it's a type of pattern that goes with a lot of things, and it's just easy to incorporate in a lot of different color schemes. So I'm just doing a little ruffly bit here, and it's really easy to do. My top tip, do a strip of double-sided tape or something tapey. Do not use wet glue, as I weirdly do later on in this video. I think I may have been a bit zoned out or distracted by something. Oh, I know what I was probably distracted by. That's another, hang on, I'll get to that story in a moment. Tangent. But yes, wet glue is very difficult to do these ruffles with, so definitely double-sided tape all the way. Here's a little bit of a life update. It's not very exciting, but it might affect my work ability. We have new neighbours that have moved in next door, and they have a pet sulphur-crested cockatoo. Now, if you've followed me for a long time, you'll know that every time at the old house that we lived in, I would go to do a voiceover, people would start mowing lawns. Well, this house that we're living in, I don't seem to have that problem too much, which is great. But now I have this cockatoo that just feels like making its presence really, really known whenever I want to film voiceovers or recordings. So if for the next few months, who knows, few years, who knows how long they will be there for, if you hear really loud, distressed cockatoo noises in the background, just know that there's not a bird trapped in our house. It is next door. It'll just give a little bit of an extra Australian feel to the videos, I think. So back on track, I'm trying to use up every last little scrape of skerrick of this tissue paper that I can, just because it's so precious, while also fighting with this this glue, I think I am going to have to call it quits at some point. I don't know when that point is, but I feel like it's sadly approaching very, very quickly. I really love these little bows, and I know in my en masse journal I was talking about how bows annoy me so much. The only time I can use bows is at Christmas. I just feel like they're easy to use at Christmas time because there's bows everywhere. I find it harder to use them during the rest of the year when there's not bows everywhere. So I managed to squeeze a few of them in for this month's release. And then I just tucked in this little berry because I felt like it needed a bit more of a delicate element to this tag, not because the heart is so big and bold and the bow is so red, and then the Merry Christmas is very angular, and I just felt like it needed something delicate and kind of wispy. So this is probably the tag that I struggled with the most just because of this trim. I challenged myself to use this trim, and this is why I stick and plonk, and I don't often rearrange things too many times, because I get too caught up in the possibilities of where it could be, where things could go, I guess, rather where they work straight away. So that's, I was getting a little distressed with this tag, I will admit, but I made it work in the end. I got too annoyed I gave it about a millisecond to dry, so very impatient, you can tell already. My scissors wouldn't cut. So I just stapled it in the end, and then I'm using a tiny strip of tissue paper just to cover up the staples a little bit. I didn't mind one or two of them showing, but I just didn't want it to look so stapled. So then I've got this sticker, which actually was printed right at the top of the page, so part of it is white, and so that worked out really well that I was able to cut it off. I find that when I overlap things over the edge, they don't look as like they're floating as much, but I also do like putting things in the center too, so it's just completely up to what you find aesthetically pleasing and what you enjoy looking at. So here I made a very simple little cluster of those two little leafy fronds, and I'm just grabbed a gold glitter heart. I had someone ask where I get my adhesive gold glitter hearts from. I punch all of these out of gold cardstock. I have a variety of small punches if you're a new inklet and you haven't seen me do that on camera before or talk about it. Adding some of these little stars, which are the exact same. They're just punched using a Fisker's hand punch. And this one's done. This one's actually got quite a lot of space at the top that I could write the to and the from at the top there. So I think I might do that for that one instead. I try to make that little fox work on so many of these, but I think I just needed to have a bit more of a smaller tag. So this size I think would work, but maybe not the red background, maybe a navy background, so the little fox popped a little bit more. This one was really simple to do. I just used a 1-inch punch to punch out the holly leaf on the collage page, and then bumped it up with a little bit of craft foam, stuck down my little tiny word and a couple of gold stars, and I'm done for that one. The thing is, the trick I think with these is that it's easiest to make them in bulk lots. So to do all the painting first, have your things already fussy cut, then dive in and start going tag by tag and adding bits and pieces. But have all of that by having the prep work of the tags painted and then the fussy cutting already done. It just makes the actual putting of them together, I guess, I'm sure that should have a proper name, but it just makes it flow a little bit quicker. So I think this took me all up real time. I've only sped it up double time, so it took me about an hour. I was slightly distracted by watching, I don't know what I was watching. Was it Real? Probably Real Housewives, let's be real, but it's probably Real Housewives. And I wasn't going full speed. This little heart, actually, this little heart on the right with the glitter around the outside is from my little bowl of goodies, and that's from a Patreon video that will be coming out in the next week or two. And I had a little try at card making. So I've got a process video coming out with not one, not two, but 5 cards in one video. I seem to do this whenever there's a project or a product that I don't feel super comfortable with, because I am not a card maker. I know Ellen, you're over here on Patreon, I know you are. Ellen taught me all I know about cards. I used to do Stampin' Up classes before I did scrapbooking, and so I have made cards, but very prescribed guided cards. I have never just freely put some things together to make a card. So Ellen, let me know when that video comes up if my card making skills if they've decreased since the classes, or if they've maintained pace. Let me know. So that video will come out in a little bit. It's a technique tactics video, but I'm not going to tell you the product that I was techniquing yet. That's not a word, Adele. So this next one, turned out to be one of my favorites, and I think it's because it just looks so textury, and it just looks like things have been haphazardly thrown together and it just kind of works. I think it's because of the mix of the tissue paper with the leafy bit and then that big blue paint stripe in the background. It definitely turned out to be one of my favorites that I probably won't give away to someone and will keep for myself instead. So next up, I really wanted to use this happy. I had so much fun coming up with phrases for this Christmas collection, and I was scanning in my Scrabble letters and making up all different types of phrases. They didn't all make the cut. There's quite a few that fell to the cutting floor. And then I went into Photoshop and cut all of the letters out individually and put them together in little words, and then did a doodly white border around them. And I really love the way it looks. Let me know if you like the Scrabble letters, because I might get them to reappear in 4 or 5 months time with a different theme. I'm a nerd and I love board games, so my heart is with Scrabble letters. I do like them. So then this one, my camera died, and while I was waiting for it to charge, I just did a doodly border around there. And then this is the last tag in the set, and while I was waiting for my camera to charge, I did have a little think about this, which is why this one came together so quickly. But I really loved this fun video. It was a really fun video to make, and I think I'm going to have to try and replicate some of the tags to actually put on presents, so that I don't feel as guilty keeping so many of them to myself. Let me know in the comments if you do anything special for your gift wrapping as well. If you do Christmas cards, where we don't do Christmas cards, Aaron and I, just because our friends don't really do them. So I think I spend a little bit more time with the gift wrapping, because we don't really do Christmas cards. So that's my December crafty, the start of the December craftiness. It's getting me feeling festive, peeps. Has anyone put up their Christmas tree yet? Let me know. I'm very tempted to do it this weekend.
Ta-da! I freaking love these. I have a problem though. I think I'm going to find it hard to actually use them as gift tags and give them away, because I know a couple of people that I have presents to give to that would keep them, but I think a lot of them would just throw them in the bin, and they're too pretty. So I may use some of them. You might see them pop up in my December scrapbooking, but they were really easy to make. The trick to this is to do things in bulk. So I did all of the painting first. I had all of my embellishments already fussy cut. and that made it a whole lot easier. So I went through and added some twine. I also added double twine to some of them. So I will do a little video showing up close of all of them so I don't hold them all up to the camera. My favourite, ooh, it's between, I love these two little ones. I really love just how teeny and just detailed they are. I also really love the simplicity of that one and the colours of this one, and maybe these two, but I also love those hearts. Oh, it's hard to choose. It's too hard to choose. My Heidi Shine is still wet, which is why they're sticking to me. It was a really fun project to make. Let me know if what you're doing for gift tags, if you do anything special for your gift wrapping. I have a bit of an obsession with Christmas paper. I have so much Christmas paper, it's ridiculous. And I always buy the giant chunky 30 meter rolls, which you don't need. Not even though we do have a lot of family members, it's a lot of paper. And so the paper that I've got for this year is actually like a vintagey Santa on a turquoise background. So these will go perfect. I might have to just make some more and replicate these ones, I think. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in today, and I will be with you. Your next video is actually going to be an organisation video. So that's coming out on the 20th. And then I've got a few other videos filmed and ready to edit tonight for the next few weeks. But until then, I'll see you next time. Bye!